It's nice to have that legacy as a founder member. You know, it makes you feel like you've achieved something, really. Well, I started when I was very, very young, when I was about 3 years old, because we lived in a golf course. I played a lot of amateur golf, and I won the Scottish Girls when I was very young. And I was at Edinburgh University, and I was writing my dissertation during the holidays, my last year. So I thought I'd go and play in the British Amateur while I was doing that. Anyway, I went, played in the British Amateur, and I won it. So that was a really big surprise. So then I got a job, and then I thought, when there's a possibility of starting a tour, I thought, that sounds better than working. So I thought it'd be nice to play golf for a living. Of course, watching my father do it for so many years. He was a Ryder Cup player 4 times, although PGA keeps saying it's 3 times, but I'm disputing that. We all think it's 4 times. In those days, when you went to university, you didn't take out a loan or anything. You got grants, but I didn't get a grant. So my father had to sort of pay for me for 4 years at university. So when I suddenly turned around and said I wasn't getting a wonderful job, I was going to turn professional and there wasn't a tour yet, he was a little bit skeptical, but he was very encouraging and very supportive. Although at first he was a bit, We had a few meetings before it was actually formed with Johnny Jones, who didn't really do anything to form it. But then after that, they started talking about it again, and people like Vivian Saunders and Jane Chapman and Pam Chuck, who's also one of the founder members, but an amateur now. She was a very good friend of mine. She said, come on, let's do it. And Carlsberg came in with money for tournaments, for about £2,000 total prize money each, but it was fantastic. Then we had a tour, and we also had an executive director, Barry, and it was all go after that. It formed very quickly, actually. The very first one was at Tyrrell's Wood in Surrey, and then we had one in Sweden, I think, and that was the first one we had in Europe. I might be wrong, but I think it was. And then it just grew and grew. You know, we'd sponsors like Hennessy Cognac, the chocolate companies in Belgium, which was a nice one. Carlsberg sponsored us for a few years, and then we managed to find replacements. In those days, you know, we had, not as they have now, you know, we had drinks and cigarette sponsors. Financially, of course, it was difficult for everybody because of the amount of money. We had to be careful about what money we spent and what we spent on caddies. So sometimes you had to pull your own trolley. And of course, there was a lot of traveling. You know, I used to drive around Europe a lot. You know, we'd drive down as far as Italy, you know, places like that. And we even drove quite a lot in Spain and France as well. So there was a lot of traveling. But as I said, it was a great camaraderie. And we had people to organize it for us, and we had travel companies that would do it for us as well. And it was between maybe April, May and October. It's all a little bit condensed, but it was very, very good and great fun. We were all very supportive of each other. Of course, we wanted to make it work. And we played in a lot of pro-ams, you know, before the tournaments, you know, to try and get sponsorship. It was great fun, actually. Although I did practice a lot, though. It wasn't fun all the time. I used to go to the gym and look at my diet and everything. Maybe not as much as I do nowadays, actually, at my age, but certainly I did in those days as well. You know, my father was very good in doing things like that as well. So, but it was a very good camaraderie. And, you know, it still is, really, with all the girls that started it. I remember when we played in Sweden, we had people watching us in our practice round at 10 o'clock at night. Land of the Midnight Sun, you know, people coming out to watch, because it was quite a new thing. And we always used to get quite a lot of spectators, even when the weather was bad, especially in Scotland. We had a lot of publicity, we had a lot of articles. I know it's different days now with social media and websites and everything, but we had a lot of newspaper columns, you know, and things like the Times and the Telegraph, and lots of journalists used to come and watch and write columns on us. People knew about it, you know, with lots of photographs in the papers as well. I remember I was the very first person to successfully defend my title. So I won in Portugal 2 years in a row. I won in Sweden and Ireland and, you know, all over the place. It was great. And then I think the last one I won, which was really great for me, was I won the Scottish Open. That was a great feeling of relief when I won it, because the weather was terrible and I just won it. So that to me was lovely to win that one. I played on the LPGA for about 3 years. And I also played on the seniors tour in America as well. And I still go over, I played in the US Women's Senior Open the last 4 years or so. It was much more serious in the LPGA than it was in the WPGA, as it was known at the time. Lots of long distances to travel, although in a way it was easier because you weren't going over borders, because when we played in Europe it wasn't the euro, you know, it was lira, it was francs, it was Deutschmarks, it was everything like that. So it was quite tricky in having to show passports, whereas in America, you know, you could just get in a car and drive, or you could just jump on a plane. But all the courses were very different, you know, very different from the West Coast to the East Coast. I played in Hawaii as well, you know, so I played everywhere from Hawaii to Florida, really. It's nice to have that legacy as a founder member. You know, it makes you feel like you've achieved something really, you know, done something useful. Some of us are still very involved in golf, others have gone off in different directions. I stayed on tour longer than any other founder member, probably. Out of all the tours I've played on, the LET is definitely the one that's closest to my heart. Certainly the one that I enjoyed the most and made lots of friends on.